Hey y'all, welcome back to the Blue Collar Wife. I and yours truly, Cookie. And as always, I thank y'all for coming back by on today. So y'all, first of all, how y'all doing? Are you doing well out there? I'm hoping you have a better day than I was today, but it's better now because I'm out of my class. Today was a rough day. But today, y'all, today's topic is gonna be a little controversial. I know it is. Now, y'all, I'm gonna whip this hair back because it's getting on my nerve now. It's in my way. Um, but I'm going to be talking about um, marriage and respect. What the Bible says versus what culture says. Now, y'all, I'm going to give you today's scripture, which is Ephesians 5 and 33, which states, however, each one of you also must love his wife as he loved himself, and the wife must respect her husband. I'm using my phone for notes. And y'all, let me tell you something. Marriage has changed a lot. Marriage for culture has shifted so much that it is absolutely shocking. Like it is shocking, shocking, shocking. Culture has now made marriage to the point that it's just weird. It's weird. Um, and let me give you a prime example. Off the time I hear young people or just new couples or just old couples, whatever, that, like respect is given and not earned, or girl, do you, don't let no man tell you what you can't do. Or if he doesn't deserve it, don't give it. I hear that. And that's shocking to me because number one, I guess I was raised to see biblical marriage not biblical marriage, just how a marriage is raised on a solid foundation. Let me put it like that. It became biblical later on, but it was raised on a solid foundation. Number one. Number two, it's weird to me because I have never seen where the respect is just gone. Like nobody, husband or wife, have respect for each other. And the crazy part is, it's biblical that you're supposed to have respect, but it's not there. And I really don't, I really don't understand why. Oftentimes, what I see in marriages is that, and this is like with seeing social media, TV shows, all of that stuff that they have made men either lazy or clueless. Like they don't know anything. Like, oh, he just dumb as a doorknob and he need his wife to lead him into some common sense. That is crazy. Um, and it bothers me because it's now have trickled over in culture and it's now trying to make its way in to the church. And it's not biblical. We as women and as wives, we should never make our husband seem belittled or clueless or he don't know what he's talking about. He's the headship and you should respect him and the role that he plays. Now, I'm not saying that you his doormat and he should be walking all over you. I'm not saying that at all because, you're not a doormat and you all should have a relationship of balance. But what I am saying is that you should not be the one that making the head decision and he just sit back and let you. For me, when I first got married, it took me a while to respect my husband because number one, I was a single parent. So I made all the decisions. I was the breadwinner. I made all the decisions about everything that was ran in the household. And so when I got married, it took me a minute to pump my brakes and step back and let my husband do it because my husband is a man's man. He pays the bills and this, that, and the third. And only thing I have to do is just buy the things, the necessity in the house, like groceries, toiletries, and all that stuff. So it took me a while to get to that place. It really did. And when we first got married, I was always praying, like, God, work on my husband. Let him be like this. And remember I was listening to a young lady. I can't remember her name. I hate that I can't remember her name. And she was talking about, I was telling God to work on my husband, and God convicted me and said, no, you need to pray for me to work on you. And y'all, that struck a nerve. Oh my God, that struck a nerve. And so I realized that, I need to be praying for God to teach me how to be a wife. And the first thing that I noticed is that I didn't respect my husband. I didn't respect him. And I repented and I said, Lord, teach me how to be a wife that know how to play the role as a wife to meet the needs and wants of my husband. And I pray that prayer now, and we almost 13 years in our marriage, but I still pray that prayer. And a lot of time when I see couples or married or husband and wife together, you know, especially this new couple thing, they have no respect for one another. Like for example, like I see some wives like their husband is talking, and if they say something they don't like, why you say all that in front of everybody? And I'm looking like, girl, take that somewhere else so we can't hear that. You don't want them ears to listen to that because you don't know who's lurking, watching, and plotting. And so, if my husband says something I don't like or I disagree with, I don't call him out in front of everybody. I don't overtalk him or belittle him in front of everybody. I'm stepping away when nobody can hear what we said, and I'm having that conversation with him out of the earshot of people because that's my husband. You understand? And as women, we got to get that respect back. Somehow we've lost that respect. I don't belittle my husband to nobody, and I don't let nobody belittle him to me. Because when you're belittling your husband or you downing your husband or you're talking about your husband to other people are sitting there looking like, well, if he's such a bad person, why are you still married to him? Like, if he that bad person, why are you staying there? And so and I've never done that anyway. When I first got married up to present, I never belittle, downgrade, or anything like that about my husband to anybody. Any issues that I have about my husband or any concerns that I have about my husband, I go in prayer and I tell the Lord, this is the thing I don't like. If it's me, God, work on me. If it's him, work on him. That's my prayer. If I have issues in my marriage, I don't go to couples who haven't been in that water long. I go to couples that got some little season about themselves. And then sometimes I don't go to all the seasoned people because what work in your marriage may not work in mine. So, but here or there, I don't belittle my husband. I don't degrade him. I don't put him down. Period. That's something I don't do. Another thing that I don't do, or another thing that I find like a pet peeve of mine, is that we as women get mad when our husband makes mistakes and we keep it over their head. He's human. And if you don't expect him to make mistakes, then maybe you should not got married. You should have married you a superhuman. But your husband is human. And I'm not talking about mistakes of him stepping out of marriage and cheating on you and all that stuff. So, my husband has made decisions, that I may not agree with, or a decision that, I question. But I don't sit up there and belittle him for the decision that he has made that I may not agree with. I go to God in prayer. You know what I'm saying? I trust him in his decision, big or small, because sometimes there's some things that I may not be able to see that he sees. And I'm gonna give you a prime example. So my husband wanted a shed, and we also need a lawnmower, but he really wanted a shed. So I was just like, well, if you want a shed, go ahead and get a shed. We can get somebody to cut the grass, because I'm just like, I want you to get the shed. So he was like, let me think about it. I decide. So I was talking to him this week, and he was like, I went ahead and bought a lawnmower. So I was like, well, why you didn't get the shed? Because you really want the shed, and we can, like I said, pay somebody to cut the grass. And so he's like, by the time I keep paying these people to cut the grass, I could have bought me a lawnmower. So I couldn't really argue with him about that because I was like, well, you're right. So he bought a lawnmower, and he was like, I could save up for a shed, but we really need a lawnmower. So he went and got a lawnmower, and I couldn't blame him for that. So, any decision that he makes, I respect his decision, big or small. I do ask my husband opinion on a lot of things. I know he get tired of me sometimes, I love you, babe. But I do ask his opinion on a lot of things, from decision about my job or decision about, things that go on my side of the family. I ask his opinion on it. And I value his opinion on it because, I need another voice. Sometimes you hear your own voice and your own voice can deceive you. And I need a voice that who's going to be sound minded to be like, well, yeah, you should do that, or no, don't do that. And so I ask his opinion and I value it. I value it a lot. And so I value his opinion. And when I ask, I respect his opinion and I follow suit, to that opinion. I pray and don't nag. I'm letting that marinate in your spirit. I pray and I don't nag. Um, Society has it with that, woman who's a nag, their wife, nag, nag, nag. And I'm not a nagger. I've never been a nagger. And when I hear women nag, it's like fingernails to a chalkboard. I know making myself old now, but it's like fingernails to a chalkboard. And if that is a pet peeve, I don't nag. I pray about it. Anything that I feel as if that God need to grow my husband out of, I don't nag him about it. I pray about it. And like I said, I'm quick to say, God, if it's me, work on me. But if that's something that he don't need to be doing, work on him. But I'm not finna nag because first of all, he grown. He grown. And you can't change him. Only God can. So why keep nagging? I pray about it. And so I put it in the Lord's hand. I put it in the Lord's hand. And the thing about it is, respect is thrown out there so loosely. And a lot of women feel as if that, if I yield to my husband, then I'm belittling myself and I'm gonna lose my voice and I'm be walked all over and this, that, and the third. And if you got a God fearing man and a good man, he wouldn't do you like that. Um, and 9 out of 10, when you're dating, you know what he's about anyway. So if you marry him and he's belittling you in your dating phase, and he's dogging you out in your dating phase, or he's cheating on you in your dating phase, or he's putting his hands on you in your dating phase, or he's a compulsive liar in your dating phase, or if he don't know how to manage his money in your dating phase, boo is gonna happen in your marriage. So God give you forewarnings. It's just, are you listening? So when you get into your marriage, you know the foundations are already set in your dating phase. I hear a lot of women say, "I didn't know he was like that till after you got married." You knew he was like that. You just didn't want to hear it. You thought you could change him. Mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm. So with me, when I got married, you know, now me and my husband, we dated a short amount of time, but I knew my boundaries with him. I knew what boundaries I could and could not cross with him. And I knew my husband was a go getter. I knew my husband was responsible. I knew that. I knew my husband valued my opinion. I valued his. He wasn't going to belittle me. I didn't belittle him. So I never felt like I was walked on like a doormat because my husband never made me feel like that. And so that's the thing, if you got a good husband, you shouldn't feel like you've been walked over and dogged out because that boundary and foundation should already been settled in your dating phase. Now, don't get me wrong. Another thing is you're gonna disagree. You and him gonna disagree. It happens. Me and my husband disagree, but I did. We have it. We have our disagreement, and then we come back together. Um, I have made it a rule of thumb that I have my disagreement with my husband, and we talk about it within 24 hours. Because I'm gonna go ahead and tell y'all. Like I said, I can only talk about me because I've been in this body my whole life. When I first got married, um, when me and my husband disagree, I'm the first one to say, I'm gonna go home back to my mom and daddy. I did. And God convicted me from that. Like, you married. You can't run home to your mom and dad every time you and your husband have a disagreement. Have a disagreement, talk about it, and move on. But yeah, I would quit. I'm gonna pack up, and I would start packing to go back home to my mom. Oh, thank God for change. So yeah, so I had to grow into how to respect my husband, and that's why I said this is really a topic for me to talk about because it took me a while to get there, and thank God I'm there, and I'm still growing. I am still growing, and so I want to encourage you, young ladies, old ladies, newlyweds, seasoned marriage. You know, respect your husband. Don't let culture tell you that you don't have to respect him because he's your helpmeet and it's biblical. It's very much biblical. So I want to ask you, and comment down below is how are you going to show respect in your home? I want you to comment down the home and also comment what one thing that you're going to try this week to show respect in your home. Is it, to compliment your husband on a thing that he does, or if you home all day and you ain't cooking and cleaning, you gonna start cooking and cleaning. Let's get to the nitty gritty of it, because I'm gonna call it. Or when you and your husband have a disagreement, you don't get on the phone and call your senior girlfriend and dog him out. Drop down in the comments what are you gonna do to respect your husband this week. Now, if you enjoyed this video, I'm making sure I get all the bullet points, and I did. All right. If you enjoyed this video, y'all, please click the like, share, subscribe button. Like I always say, sharing is caring. Comment, like I said, on those three topics. And until then, y'all, I will see you next time right here in the front seat. Bye, y'all.